I'm thankful that they did sit there and introduce that music because country trap was never introduced before as anything. It was just country music. But country trap music gives you another brand of music to
and
listen
it makes people like start listening to country.
Like, I love
and
country.
listening to trap. Like, they're like, oh, so that's what. Because some people, they hear a word that describes a genre of music, and they also automatically have a negative.
Turn it down.
Yeah, they have a negative connotation. Oh, trap is that hardcore. They're just talking about killing people. That's not what it is. They're telling stories just like these country artists are. And some people from the hood will be like, yo, I never even gave country a chance. Now I'm listening to it, and I'm like, hey, they got some decent, cool stories and stuff.
Country trap, country rap, and so forth.
Yeah.
There's even country R&B.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different subcategories to everything. Like, I'm just glad that people are branching out and giving us options, you know.
So what don't we like about the music industry today? In brief, because we don't like a lot of stuff. Like, we don't like the red tape. We don't like
Definitely don't like the red tape, and I also don't like the fact that these artists are putting out music and not getting paid. Like, the streaming thing has been a battle and a debate for years now, and no one's come up with an answer to get these artists paid. Like, Smokey Robinson just got in front of, what was it, Congress or whatever that big court thing was, and people are streaming his music on like Spotify and Apple, all these different platforms, and he's not getting paid for any of it. Like, if somebody streams your song like 10,000 times, if somebody bought your CD and you had 10,000 CD sales, you would be getting what?
But the issue is,
you know,
streaming wasn't around when he signed his contract.
Right, but I mean, it's still, I feel like all of that needs to be, like, it's still his music.
Like, no, like Mace, he's not really making any money from his music because he signed a shitty contract.
That's gotta change.
He signed a shitty contract.
I don't think it's in contract law. I feel like that's like, if I made something and
like,
somebody recorded it and then played it back,
mm-hmm.
and they're making money off a subscription.
Like, I forget who it was, but they got auctioned.
It's not with Diddy?
No. He left a long time ago, but when he was first signed, he signed a really terrible contract because he didn't have a lawyer. First of all, the label, you should never decide I'm going to use the label's lawyer because the label's lawyer is going to look out for them. Yeah. The label, not you.
Right.
That's the label's lawyer.
That's
you need your own lawyer.
Tell these artists, like, what we were taught is that you need to not only be an artist, but you need to know the business side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you absolutely need to know who to talk to, who to contact, because
a good example.
Once you sign, that's it.
Was I forget what his name was, but one guy, he got offered $100,000 or 10% of Nike, and he took the $100,000. Do you know how much the 10% he would have been? He would have been set for life if he took the 10%. But he took the $100,000 because
they think of it in dollar signs. They're not thinking of long term. They're thinking instant gratification.
$100,000
is more than I've ever seen. You know, and they're looking at 10%. Like, I mean, it's just 10%, but they're not thinking of 10% of like $1 billion company. Like, 10% is more than you'll ever need. You know. Well, yeah, I definitely don't like that.
Technology has definitely made an oversaturation in the music industry, and that's created a lot of noise, and it made it hard for us to hear beyond the noise because there are a lot of talented people that they don't sound alike, but they sound like some other people that may have passed the torch. Like, you remind me of this person that was a great singer, and you're younger, but I will never know who you are because there's so much noise that you gotta sift through.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of it, like, you know, when you're on YouTube, you know how, like, they suggest certain videos. Mm-hmm. The first people they're going to suggest are these top 100s.
Are the people you already listen to.
Yeah, I've already heard Drake. I know what Beyonce sound like. I got Rihanna. Okay, we get it. Good.
That's why I confused Spotify, because I listen to so many different things, and I follow these rabbit holes of trying to find other people that I hadn't listened to because I want to be out of my boundaries. want to test the waters and be like, oh, Casey Musgraves, she's awesome. She's not underrated. She's awesome, country artist. And then there's other people like Tora and the people that I was talking about earlier, and I was like, that's a really nice R&B artist. Why aren't people listening to Kate? I was like, this is awesome. Like, I just like to fall down these rabbit holes, and because by listening to Coda the Friend, that's how I found Kate, and I found another artist after listening to Kate, and I'm like, it's just a rabbit hole of I don't want to listen to what I'm always listening to. I need to always find something new.
Because, I mean, it's just, you know, like, they may sound like some of these artists, but they may be giving a different message that you, or doing it in a different way. Like, a lot of these artists, you'll listen to, like, what they're saying, and you'll be like, yo, that's dope. I never thought somebody would say that. But you never hear it.
I was always making mixtapes for people, though, growing up. So I was like, here, listen to this. Here's a mix CD. This is what I listened to in June. And it was like, when streaming came along, I was like...
But it's like, do you think a lot of underground artists are making more than people that are trying to introduce themselves out in the world already?
Underground artists aren't really making a lot of money. Independent artists that have established themselves, they're making bank. And when I say they're making bank, I said they're making more money than some of these signed artists, because the signed artists, they get advances, but they gotta pay that back.
Yeah. True.
The independent artists, though, they're independently out for self. They don't really get advances, so they get distribution deals, but they're not getting all this money and saying, hey, I'm going to blow all this money. Because when most people, they follow, like I said before, the label attorney, and they're like, I got all this money, and they don't realize they got to pay that back, because the label attorney is like, I'm not going to tell them I work for the label. Spend all the money you want. And then by the time the video's done, the album is cut,
You broke.
you beyond broke. You owe the label some money.
And they're real quick to give you some money. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. Whenever you sign into a label, I was always taught this. You have to offer them something that they can make money off of.
Like Megan Thee Stallion. She signed a shitty deal.
Yeah. You know.
What did she signed with?
Like before she got like big, she was stuck in a contract.
And they're stuck. They sign these long-ass contracts. And I'm like, take your time. Like, I know it's hard when you've been struggling for so long and you finally got somebody to bend their ear and listen to you, and they're offering you all these different things, and you're like, this is more money than I've seen in whenever, but you also got to think.
That's for life.
Yeah.
That's how JoJo got stuck for all those years.
Yeah. You know, Kesha. You know, I'm like, these are artists that they were so stuck in these shitty deals that they missed a whole, like, era where they could have been, like, up here, like, you know, Kesha put out, like, I think it was, like, a 3 CD project, and it was dope, but she got stuck in this deal, and it just made her climb stop.
Every deal ain't great.
Yeah.
That doesn't, like, even transcends music. Like, my first contract as a writer was trash. I signed to a small vintage publisher, and I ripped her contract to shreds. Thankfully, because I studied writing and I was a little bit business savvy, and I was like, you got mad loopholes in here. Just let me have my writing. I'm going to go independent, and that's why I won't sign with any other publishers, because I'm like, I can do this myself. I will market myself. I'd rather be independent than the things that you put in that contract. You wanted 50% of everything I was making. You wasn't marketing me, and you wasn't doing this, that, and the third. I was like, I feel like you're not looking out for me. You're looking out for you.
You gotta have that education. You know, people just think that, oh, you know, I make music and everything's just gonna fall in place. I don't need an education. I'm not saying go to college. I'm not saying go to school. I'm not saying not to do those things. I think it's important, but at least research what you're doing. Like, you know, we got such a powerful thing. We have the internet now. You can literally look up anything.
I studied writing and communications, and as much as I hate reading contracts, I read that contract through and through after I had signed it, months after, and I tore it to shreds. Found highlighted stuff, loopholes. I was like, this contract sucks. sucks.
And
Thankfully,
don't be
she was
afraid to ask questions or to get a second opinion. Don't just sign something because they're telling you. They can tell you anything. And
Thankfully, she was a small publisher, so I was like,
go ask
I was
somebody.
like, she
Ask a
probably
friend. Do a
found a
poll,
contract
like-
template on Google.
Yeah.
And that's how she ended up with this.
Yep.
And that's how I ended up getting out of my contract. I was like, I don't want the money that you would probably owe me by the time I was done with this.
Mhm.
But I just want you to let me go early and don't worry about it. I got this from here.
That's crazy. I feel bad for a lot of these.
Because
Yeah.
recently, a lot of writers, they were signed to these vanity publishers last year, and the vanity publishers did them really dirty and kept a lot of their writings.
Shit.
They couldn't take their writings with them when they left these publishers.
Mhm.
And I was like, I was afraid. That's my worst fear. The only thing I want to keep is my writing and my name. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tina. All I want is my name. You can have everything.
it's like, I just want my words and my name. Like, leave that. Like, you can have everything else. I don't even care that your covers were okay. I can redesign my own cover and it could be okay.
People always have this idea that this opportunity will never come around again.
But people prey on other people's passions. They see
never
how
be
passionate.
never be desperate. Like, unless somebody's getting ready to snatch out your vocal cords the next day, I think you'll be all right. You can continue to make music.
Mhm.
You may not sign a deal today, but as long as you can continue making music, you're okay. You know, take your time. You know, talk to people, ask questions, Google some stuff. You know,
Don't ever
just
like
jump into something.
jump into things. Like,
Yeah, like
we've seen these stories unfold decade after decade. Like TLC, they had a really terrible contract. Like you said, Kesha had a terrible contract. Like,
JoJo had a really terrible contract.
yeah.
and these are all very talented people.
Yeah.
So learn from their mistakes and don't be like, oh, they got the label got a lawyer. Nah, no matter how much a lawyer costs, find you a lawyer up and be like, I want my lawyer to look over this
And
because
some of these people will literally look over the contract for free. Like, there are a lot of pro bono lawyers out here that will literally look over your stuff for free. That's what they do, you know. And maybe after, you know, you sign, you can throw them some money or you can have them look at some stuff and pay them. But there's a lot of good people out here that are just out here trying to help somebody. Make sure that you don't fall down some hole that you can't get out of. Because once you sign a contract, and some people are signing ridiculously long contracts for like 10 years. Like, what are you thinking about? Like, no, don't do that. How about, let's start with like 6 months.
and they don't even have clauses to get out of that contract. They
There's
be-
nothing, because they make these ironclad, you know, things because they know they're
You
crooked. They
become
know they're
property.
We own you. You can't even do an interview unless we say it's okay. And you need to say what we want you to say. And then you need to plug our company. No, don't do it.
It's all become about the money.
Yeah.
It's not about the music. So sometimes the independent artists, they make out better because they understand the business part now, and they also really, really care about the music.
But it's work. And I think, unfortunately, our society is just like, they don't want to work. They want it right now.
But like you said, Snow, she really figured out the business part, and she also figured out the music part quite early. Because a lot of people don't know, she owns Woke.
Yeah.
Like, she's the first person to use Woke. Like, she actually trademarked Woke.
Yeah. You find different ways and have several, like my uncle used to say, have several baskets. You're not just one thing. You can do several things. You know, sometimes you got to think outside of the box to generate, you know, income to support and fund your music. You know, sometimes it may not have anything to do with music. Sometimes it's just a saying or something. And you can literally fund your whole promotion and everything else. You know, word of
But
mouth
that's
is
what a lot of
strong.
artists are doing right now. They're not making their majority of their money by the music. They're making money off of the tours, the merchandise, and anything else they like got going on in their life. Like some of them own property and they rent property, but the music is their passion, so they figure out how to fund it and how to maneuver without owing the label thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Because, you know, and also, like I said, all this stuff is work. You know, it takes a lot of work to organize, you know, a music video, or organize a campaign, or you know, talk to people about different investments. Like this is work. So if you're not passionate about it, and you're not willing to really do the work and the footwork and act, you know,
It's
there's
not gonna happen in a year.
It's not. I hear so many people are like, I want to be a rapper. And
In
they
a
think
year.
just because they can rap that they're going to make it. All I got to do is get up in front of some people.
How many other people can rap?
I'm like, I can throw a rock and find somebody that can rhyme. That don't mean nothing. You could really be good. I know a lot of rappers and a lot of singers that are really, really great.
What you got that the next person don't got?
Yeah, I'm like,
And it all comes down to grit and persevere.
I'm like, that and 10 cents will buy me a cup of coffee. I don't care that you can sing. Like,
Do something
you know,
else.
Like, what else can you do? You know, because what happens if nobody wants to hear this? Then what?
That's
what
why
you
I
gonna
feel
do?
so proud when people say I am a musician, but I'm studying business. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's the
smart.
first thing I studied was business, because I was like, I need a backup plan. Like, I need a backup plan.
Also, I need to understand these contracts that bands run my
Yeah.
way.
I need to understand promotion. I need to understand these different, you know, these different